Resident Alien Season 2, Episode 11. That's right, folks. 3 episodes into the return now. I have kind of been feeling the weight of things taking shape here. Like, a show like this has a lot of good stuff going for it, and I really liked the premiere episode of The Return. There are certain parts of the second episode I'm like, wow, you're dealing with a lot of themes here. Maybe you should have had a second pass at the script to tighten those out. This episode, I can safely say, is the weakest of the three of The Return. There's stuff in here that I think is really necessary for the series where I'm like, this is what the show should be about. It's a comedy, let's lean into that. And then there's just a couple of side plots that really feel like we have to fill a quota with these actors and put them in a certain amount of scenes so we justify paying them that. And specifically that kind of plays to Linda Hamilton, I think, because it feels like we had to give her a certain amount of screen time, and when we get there, her later half of the show, she'll actually get to do something, because this time around, is there a mole in her organization? We're reiterating that point. We kind of think there is. We know it is. They don't know there is, her and her partner there. They don't know there's an actual mole. It's one of the agents working for her. I believe his name is Ethan. So, what do? We kill an innocent man, kind of, because we got the magical sphere. Seems like she's really turning into the villainous character that we're waiting for. I wonder if we're going to get like a cyclical reveal that's like, oh no, she's actually one of the aliens too. I feel like that's a direction the show wouldn't be afraid to head at. It just doesn't feel genuine, so I'm not going to put my hands in that basket and say that's where we're going, but it could happen. I don't know, it's just interesting. So she's in here a couple of scenes where it's like, okay, learn anything new? Not really. Learn anything new? Maybe. That's not important. Oh, look, I'm going to go out on my own and investigate. And she winds up at the bar where all of our main characters are, which plays off like she's going to be an integral part of the show going forward, but part of me feels that's not going to happen. Now, we have a couple side characters we do have to get a storyline through, so that's what we do. Ben and Kate aren't pregnant, and we pretty much only do that story with them. There's kind of some stuff earlier with Kate, and she's like, why'd you have my son work for you? But we'll get to that in a bit here. And I get it, like, there is a chemistry to play there, and they do some interesting stuff with those characters. Not the primary focus of this episode, so I'm like, yeah, you don't have to do anything with them. They're not pregnant. Good, because do we really need a baby in here to muck things up a little bit? I don't know. I don't think it would hurt the show, but it certainly wouldn't improve the quality that you can feel in these later half of the show. It's not declining. It's just not the constant beats and bams that we're getting from a show like this. So, yeah. But they're not pregnant. They're happy about it. They're celebrating. Good. Darcy also doesn't get that much to do. Her kind of storyline this episode is just, I kind of need to feel like I'm good at something again. So she maybe wants to try skiing. She meets her old coach, and she becomes an instant celebrity with a couple of kids that love her. And I'm like, yeah, I guess she would be a known quantity, like people would recognize her, so okay, believable in that aspect. There's posters made of her though. That's where I'm like, is there? Because she was an Olympic athlete, I do believe, is like her story. She's a professional skier, injured herself. Do they make posters of Olympic athletes? That's the question I want to pose to everybody, because I don't believe that's a thing that happens. Not to just like any person. Maybe she was a gold medalist and there's like a really devoted fan who works on posters. That's like, you're awesome, poster time. But that's cool, and she realizes that, oh, I got enough problems of my own here. Maybe I don't want to bring Elliot into all of this, and she might be dragging him down a little bit into her mucky life of knowing that her best friend killed somebody. Not a lot for her, just kind of like, giving her something to do with not really growing the plot forward for her. And that's how I felt about like the Kate and Ben stuff. It's like, yeah, this was necessary. Doesn't do anything to advance the plot forward. Kind of, I guess you could say the stuff with like Mike and Liv and the detective from Jessup. That kind of moves the plot forward because Mike's kind of flirting a little bit now. So you're like, that's kind of fun. Again, king of the one-liner. So many great references and jokes in here that I love to hear from him. They talk about like this stint he did in Washington where, what did they call him? Like the Merman killer or something? Like he was the Mer cop or something? The Mer cop, I think. It's like, good use of that word. Don't know why. I liked that. That was really fun. And of course, Liv's finally getting some recognition for being a good cop because she's actually good at this. And we see that maybe the actual water supply could be poisoning and hurting some people and giving them rashes. And what does that have to do with everything? We'll find out later. But the real meat and butter, yeah, is that an expression? You know what I mean. The real steak and potatoes of this episode was something I've honestly been saying was missing from the past few episodes. Not just the return, but from the past few episodes, it really felt like they couldn't use Max for some reason. But he's back, and we're in full form. Practical effects for Harry. We're actually bringing it back for more than one scene. He's in the suit for a solid 5 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can support that. We have a really funny scene where Max wants to get some drums, so Harry hires him to do chores for him. A great little montage of all that. It is genuinely funny. We see Sahar has the baby alien. He wants to get the alien back. They have like a come here dog kind of moment. It's funny. And this is where like, this is what the show was billed as. And I understand maybe this far into your season, you could be having a certain budgetary thing that's preventing you from sticking to this storyline. So we do stuff in the town to pad the effects we have for the alien. But it also makes me think, I'm missing it. You know, like it's like a couple sequences, I should say, in this episode where you're just sitting there like, where has this been? This feels like the kind of stuff we've been missing in these past couple episodes. Like, Harry and Max should be your focal point of the story because they're two characters that play well off each other. You can do some funny stuff. The kid who is smarter than the alien about human culture, but you also see that Harry gets some good licks in there and is actually saying some funny stuff that Max doesn't understand, and it leads to some interesting commentary on the two of them. So that storyline, it's good. It's the strongest part of this episode. Once again, I say once again like it's a bad thing, but it's definitely the only thing we have focused on of Asta in this returning parts. We briefly talk about Jay. We don't really focus on that story, which is something I was hesitant for them to explore, but they should at least explore it a little because we're spending a lot of time on Asta dealing with the death thing. She's had at least 3 people now tell her how to deal with this. This time it's her father, and yeah, it's a good sequence where he kicks everybody out of his restaurant and they just have a heart-to-heart. Have we heard that Dan was a military man before? I feel like it was something that might have been said, but I can't remember for the life of me if we heard that before. So, an interesting wrinkle for him because he's just like the guy that knows everything and has done everything. And we know that he's killed men, so he understands what his daughter's going through. What a weird thing. I'm sure they mentioned it in the first season, like he was a veteran or something, but I can't remember like the specifics of it. But what like a weird thing, like, Dad, I killed someone, and he's like, yeah, I have 2. You're not supposed to. Not supposed to, of course not. But he's kind of like, if you do it, like you're not supposed to. But if you do it, it's better to feel remorse for your actions. It means you have compassion. And like, dude, how many people have you killed with not giving a shit? That's an interesting topic. We should explore a little bit. Could you imagine? Oh my goodness, that's your prequel. We put him. Would he be like Vietnam around that time, maybe? And the alien first lands there in Vietnam, and then you have him fighting, and he's like, yeah, I killed aliens before. I know what I'm doing. That would be a fun... Oh, that would be cool. Because overall, there is good stuff in this episode. Leads to some interesting revelations, but I'm feeling like we're kind of just pushing ourselves thin with the 16-episode order. And last season was just tight. We got our story out. We were able to have fun with it. We were more creative in these endeavors. And this season, you kind of feel like the weight. We're like, oh yeah, this is good, but certain characters kind of get pushed aside for an episode, so we don't have to deal with them. Storylines don't really head anywhere sometimes, and we try to make it all fit. And sometimes the flow doesn't feel perfect. But I don't know. I'm still enjoying what I'm seeing. Alan Tudyk continues to be a godsend to acting. Every time he does something, you just know you're in for a treat. And the way he can just like awkwardly run away, awkwardly just tilt his head back, no one does it like him. He's really good at this, really incredible at it, and makes this episode great. And I just love seeing the practical alien suit for more than one scene. It works really well. And I like the little kid that just says poop pants. Done poop. Like, it's dumb, but I think it's good. That stuff's good. More of Max doing chores for him, like hitting him in the back with a sledgehammer to get, massage him. Like, that's funny. And that's what the show should be more, not just focusing on some really bad stuff. That is just treading water for a minute. We should try to expand in other ways, and maybe we will, but this episode, not the best. Interesting moments. Hopefully, the back half of the season picks up a little bit. Because I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying we're definitely slowing down a bit. So that is going to do it for this review of Resident Alien. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.